to the Quiet Riot Show, everybody. I'm Tim, and my co-host Tommy is right next to me here.
Hey.
And we got another special guest here today, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We recorded like yesterday, and I mean, people don't
really
listen
know.
on the timelines that we record, but we did yesterday, and I'm assuming by the time this comes out, people will have heard that episode, maybe?
Yeah.
That one's coming out before this one?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, yesterday was
It had actually been quite a while since I recorded one, because you did the last one without me.
That, yep.
Yeah. So, like, this is a bit of a...
Yeah, we need some catching up to do, and we're pumping out some extra content right now that you guys, well, I guess they're receiving.
Well, and we're
today.
trying to get ready for, because you're going back to Slovakia.
Taking off, yeah.
For, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I'm looking forward
When is
to
that,
it.
May?
May, yeah. That's going to be fun.
I don't like that you're
Come with
leaving
me.
for 3 weeks. I can't just leave.
I mean, you can, you just don't want to.
Well, I got a daughter and a wife and a
So do
business.
I.
And, yeah, well, fair. Yeah, but you're taking one of them.
Yeah, okay, that was kind of the deal, yeah. Like, because I took my daughter 5 years ago to the IHF championship that was in Slovakia. I'm from Slovakia originally. And so this time around, it's in Czech Republic, which is next door. It's a 4-hour drive. And I'm like, well, I can't not take my son, you know. So, yeah, I'm going.
For 3 weeks.
Wife can't say shit. I already bought tickets and everything.
You just went last year.
Yeah, in the summer, yeah.
Why do you need to go back again?
Because of the hockey.
What's your son going to do when you're drinking till 8 a.m.?
He's going to be drinking with me.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
It's Europe.
He's 10, but I guess it's Europe. Fair.
Can't go that far without saying that long.
Yeah, well,
That's right.
Fair enough. Fair
To
enough.
be fair.
Yeah. Okay, why don't you
That's our
introduce
guest.
Yeah.
Brendon Gilchuk. Gilchuk?
That's well pronounced.
You good with that?
Good job.
Yeah.
Is that too pronounced?
Yeah, a little.
Now,
Is
is
it
it
a little
Brandon
aggressive?
or Brandon?
Brendan.
So Brandon.
Yeah.
Brendon Gilchuk.
Just nodding her backwards. Keep it easy.
Does it actually bother you when they mispronounce your name?
Oh, I'm just so used to it, man.
Okay.
You know what? My parents were just picked one of those names that was just so easy at the time,
Yeah.
and then everybody just changed it in every way they could.
Just
you know?
however they
My kid's
wanted.
unique, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like my name is Thomas, but it's spelled without the H.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
so, some lovely people, including your wife, just goes sometimes like, oh, is it Tomas? And I'm
But
like,
respectively, then you don't have to go
It's-
by Thommy.
yeah, right.
Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. But
Isn't it Tomasz?
it's Tomas. Yeah.
How is it
if you
sh-
actually try?
What's
so,
the sh?
so
How does that work?
if you actually spell it in Slovakia, there's like an accent on the A, which is just a line that makes the A longer. And then there's like an upside down roof over the S,
Okay.
and that makes the sh sound.
That's a lot of
Tomas.
infrastructure.
Yeah,
Tomasz?
Yeah.
How long is the A?
as long as you want, baby.
Longer the better, I guess. Oh, geez, it's one of these shows.
It's gonna be a great one. We're into some nice whiskeys, and
Yeah, Brendon brought a whole fucking wood
yeah.
smoked thing. He's drinking smoked bourbon.
I mean, I've never tried it until today, and it's
It was
fantastic.
delightful, yeah.
It was really nice.
delightful.
Yeah. So,
Hate
thank you.
I don't mean to be a bandwagon jumper, but I am behind two celebrities' whiskeys right now, and they're pretty damn good.
Which
Nice.
ones? What?
So this one's Matthew McConaughey's.
Is that
Oh,
McConaughey's
okay.
whiskey?
Yeah.
He's got a tequila now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. I didn't know this was his.
Yeah, Long Branch.
It's really nice, yeah.
And then
Yeah, he's got a tequila.
Conor McGregor's Proper 12s. Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's a nice one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that
So
one.
Brendon and I know each other from our local watering hole.
That is correct.
We frequent, let's just call it frequent.
Well,
just run into each other.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
bump into
yeah.
each other from time to time. I
When
don't
you're
know.
when you're having a business meeting
4 or 5 times a week. At the local watering hole. I live super close. He lives close. That's
Yeah.
actually how we met.
Yeah.
From at that establishment.
Through a friend, yep.
Yeah. He's how am I going to introduce? He's an entrepreneur. He's his own business owner. He's I guess a solopreneur. Would that
You could call
be
me that,
accurate?
yeah.
What's the difference between solopreneur and entrepreneur?
Entrepreneurs have employees. Solopreneurs
You just work for yourself.
work for themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, until I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah,
So-
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to say you don't want to head there, but like
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, paint the picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to paint. Exactly. That's nice. There you go. You're like a Bob Ross, or I guess I'm like Bob Ross. I'm painting the picture.
I was Bob Ross.
for Halloween.
Yeah.
When?
At your party, at your Halloween party.
Oh, like I remember my Halloween party.
Come on.
Were you really? Yeah, you were.
My wife was the painting.
It's coming back
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I'm starting to get it. Yeah. All right.
My wife was the paint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
she was, yeah.
He was Bob Ross, and she was. I remember
Yeah,
this.
she
now.
had like it's like one of those paintings that you kind of put over your neck, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a canvas. So it's pretty funny. Yeah.
Should we do the check-in?
Yeah. Let's check in.
All right. Why don't we start with you, Tommy? What? You know the check. You've listened to the show. You understand
Oh, yeah.
the check-in process.
You bet.
I don't have to. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What? How you doing?
I am doing. I'm doing. You know what? I'm doing a little bit better than I did yesterday, actually. Despite the fact that I only slept for 2 hours, I had an afternoon nap.
2 hours, like
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
So after you left after the recording yesterday, I finished editing the podcast, and like because we stayed up late the night before watching the F1, I was just super tired, and so I had an afternoon nap. Well, that turned into a 3-hour nap.
Yeah, that's all right.
It was great, but then I'm like, oh shit, I'm not gonna sleep at night, right? So
Oh fuck.
so that's what happened. Yeah, it was like 1:30 when I'm like, okay, I should put the alarm on. I should put an extra alarm on. So usually I set 3 alarms.
Yeah.
I put 6 alarms on. Just,
6?
Yeah, well, just to make sure, it was like 3:30, 3:40, 3:45, and so on. In case I snooze 2 or 3 of them, I still have
The
3
caution
backups.
started
Yeah.
setting in.
My
right?
wife sets 2 every morning that are both before when I want to be up.
Oh yeah.
It's the fucking worst. Because you snooze the first one,
Yeah.
then the second one goes off. You might snooze the second one, but if she doesn't, then she'll get up, and then I have to deal with this one out, the snoozer from the first one. Fucking awful.
But yeah, so I didn't sleep much, and I had actually a busy day, but it was a good day, like productive day. Then came home, had to
good.
do some other stuff at home, and it was good. And then I went to see Dr. Delicious,
Dr.
our
D?
friend. He's a
Oh,
chiropractor, and
was that guy?
He's doing great. We talked a bunch of F1 stuff.
Oh, I would assume.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been helping me over the last month with my sciatic nerve being pinched and all fucked up. So yeah, feeling great, feeling good, and I know I'm gonna crash hard tonight, and
Nice.
still gotta go get my daughter and promise my son to play some video games. But after that,
Well, and you're solo dad this week.
yeah.
Your wife's in France.
Well, and that was nice that I was up at night because I got to talk to my wife a little bit at least. So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
okay.
so-
That's good.
How about yourself? Much happened since yesterday?
I mean, yeah, every day, but yeah, I would say I'm like a 7 today. We're in the prep stages of going to the cabin tomorrow for like
that's
almost
right.
a
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
and so like I'm so focused and looking forward to that, and just like trying to wrap up all the things I have to be in the city for right away, and
Yeah.
like there's lots of work I'll do while I'm out there. I don't ever stop working, but like
Yep.
it's a different kind of work.
Well, and like that scenery there too is freaking
Yeah, like you
beautiful.
get up, you
And,
make
yeah.
coffee, the lake, the trees, it just feels it feels different.
You get to have a regular 8 or 9 kind of day.
Yeah, and
Even
well,
though
I've
you're
never
working
been
a
an 8
little.
or a 9 in my life,
I
but
know,
like I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like even just like the work I'm going to do while I'm out there is just like I've sort of been compiling work that I can do that doesn't require me to be in Winnipeg or like in front of people, that kind of stuff. So like even to get an opportunity to catch up on some of those things like I'm excited about, and like I get to spend 6 days with my wife and my daughter and my dog like out at the cabin. We don't put the dog on a leash at the cabin. We just if you open the door and he runs out, he runs out. You just kind of live with it. And like
Yeah.
in the city, we don't get to be that relaxed about it, or we choose not to be
Are
that
there,
relaxed
are
about
there
it. So
coyotes there?
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Yeah, good snack.
Oh, just at night. We don't.
I mean, Loki
I don't
being
think.
the
I don't
fact.
think we'd let him out like at night.
Yeah. But during the day, there's.
But
not
during
much
the day,
there,
who cares? So I'm actually just excited to like get out of the city for a few days and relax and like have a different experience.
That'll be good for you too.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
I think you've needed that for a little while.
Brendon?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing? What number are you?
You know,
And you can use any time period you want. It could be the last week, last month, last year, last whatever.
oh, I don't know. I ride around a little bit, but to be fair,
To be fair.
I, you know what? I'm a little like you, Tim, and I've heard in your last podcast that you said you typically ride about a 7.
Yeah.
Consistently, and that's usually where I'm at. I think up until about a couple hours ago, I was like just, coming right up on an 8 all day. And you know what? Looking forward to this podcast was a big part of that. Looking forward to big things always gets me going. And then I made the choice to open my emails before I got here, and
Fuck.
now there's more fires to put out. Tomorrow,
Oh, shit.
But not a big deal. Really, actually, I should say, you know what? I'm right around an 8. To be
Cool,
fair
that's
with you.
great. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I
love that.
You know what? Things are kind of on the up and up, and I got a lot of good things to look forward to.
Good. That's great,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I don't know.
Well, and I think that,
happy
like,
about that.
when you're, and call me out if I'm speaking out of turn, but like when you run your own business and you control your own, like you control so much of your own life and your schedule, like those shifts in numbers are really like, they either hit super hard, whether it's good or bad.
They do, yeah. But I mean, and I say this to my wife, she is still, she's almost a couple years into her job. She's absolutely killing it.
She's lovely, by the way.
Thank you. I agree. She isn't lovely all the
Did you
time
believe
after
that?
work, but
Were that believable?
That's very believable.
Because she might listen to this. So,
for
like,
sure,
was that
100%.
believable?
And
Okay.
your face wasn't on there, so that's good.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Now it
okay.
is, so make sure.
Yeah, she's super lovely.
don't get me wrong. I absolutely love her to death, and you know what? She's everything to me. But she does download everything onto me at the end of the day, and I appreciate it because you know what she needs to do to somebody. But today she did it halfway through the day. She's just like, I am done, you know?
Oh, fuck.
And I'm like, hun, and she's like, you know what? I'm dealing with mistakes I made like 6 months ago. I'm like, what, when you're alone, just killing it by yourself, despite the fact that you had no mentor, nobody helping you out. I'm like, you are accomplishing things at that company that nobody has ever done in history. I'm like, just appreciate yourself for your achievements a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
So, like I take that back to my own
True, but also
foreground,
in those
so
moments, like you're the battery that's giving energy to another thing.
that's true.
And whatever you've been doing or going through, and it's no knock on her, but it's just like, because there's a million of those, and there's a million of those situations every day, and it's like, I think the expectation is that like, suck it up, take it, deal with it, give the energy to it, and like figure out your own shit later. Like, am I wrong? And this isn't a knock on your wife. Like, I think it's your wife or it's somebody else or it's another situation or whatever. But I think, like, as men, that's, like, the majority of how we feel. Yeah. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
like,
no, not at all. I mean, you know what? At the end of the day...
Or, sorry, that's a default. I don't know if it's a majority of how we feel. It's a default in, like, the position we're supposed to take in those scenarios.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
I do. You know what I do as much
I'm
as I can.
terrified for his wife to punch me in the face.
honey, you want to hear the
Yeah, you
podcast?
should listen. No.
You should hear what
Should
Tim
hear what
had
Tim
to
had to
say
say,
about you.
But you need to be there. Like, this is the woman you love. This is your, like...
Well, you be as supportive as you can, right?
Of course.
But at the end of the day...
And beyond your own capacity,
like,
if you have to.
Yeah, I mean... I'm not going to say that I had somebody there all the time to listen to my quos or qualms and whatnot.
Sure.
But you know what? She went into the industry that she's in doing, kind of as hard as I did myself, because the guy that I had working to basically train me, he was just up and left out of nowhere. Talking about mental health, I'm pretty sure he is bipolar now that I have a little bit more experience with mental health. Looking back, I'm like, he probably likely was, but come in whistling one day and, he'd talk to you, and another day you'd ask him questions. He wouldn't answer a single question after a whole day. I mean, you know what? She went in hard and fast and had to learn everything on her own mostly. And that's the best way to learn, man. It is really, really not for
everyone
everybody.
thrives in that.
It is difficult.
So is that like, do you thrive in that? atmosphere?
I did coming into this industry.
So
like,
what was your history? Like, let's talk about your career. Like you at some point made a decision to like do this for yourself.
I got very lucky. I'll say that.
Okay.
I will be, you know what, I'm humbled to this day for the fact that I got given an opportunity. I was stupid when I was young, you know, doing all kinds of dumb shit in the streets
you're
and
the
whatnot.
first one.
And no,
Can you believe this shit?
But
He's the first guy.
Out.
We're done.
Yeah.
Show's over. Take your 8 and fuck off.
But you know, for the first time, having a legitimate conversation with one of my parents, you know, we never really understood each other, had kind of conversations like that, heart to hearts or anything like that growing up. But for the first time, my mom said to me, "What the hell are you doing?"
How old were you when this happened?
19.
Okay.
And she said, "What the hell are you doing? Like, I know you're up to something. What the hell are you doing?" And, you know, like, I know you lived at your girlfriend's for 9 months and then, you know, you came back and I know you're still doing something. But, you know, like, I know you're up to something. I said, "Mom, let's sit down. Let's have coffee at Tim Hortons." Sat in the parking lot, explained everything to her. And she's like, "Oh, shit, I didn't realize it was that crazy." And she was like, "Will you please get out of that for me?" And I was like, I'll do what I can to fade out of it for you.
Like what
do you want to
like what was
elaborate a little bit on
happening?
that?
What was that?
I mean, it was definitely illegal.
It doesn't matter. You can say anything you
Yeah,
want.
I was selling some shit that I shouldn't
Okay.
have been selling.
Fair enough.
But I was on the road 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that was my job. That was what I was doing. And yeah, like I quit my legitimate jobs, which were, you know, just awful. At the time I was working Maple Leaf Foods in the morning to the afternoon, and then Telesolutions, telemarketing after
just
that.
like the
Yeah,
grind.
just
like full grind.
and absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Well, selling other things might seem appealing at that point.
Oh, of course, right? So you know, I got into that, and then it was, you know what, I knew that it was kind of time to get out because, I don't know, I felt some red flags out there, and I knew that it was just time to move on. And she brought that up to me, and we kind of talked, and she says, "You know what, like at the time, her brother gave her a branch manager job here in Manitoba for the industry that I'm working in now. And she says, I can give you a part-time job, basically, you know, sweeping the floor, you know, fixing the shelves, this and that. Yeah, just for the sake of getting you the hell out of what you're doing."
Yeah.
And I said, fine. I said, you know what, I'll do it. And I did it. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And she says, okay, well, you know, Robert, the guy that I was working with, he needs some help. And can you give him some help? And, you know, just be whatever. And essentially, she was trying to get me to apprentice with him. And it came around. And I'm not going to lie to you, 6 months went by. I was kind of gradually working more hours, hated what I was doing still because I didn't understand it. And it was, you know, a lot of electronics, mechanics, pneumatics, hydraulics, you name it. And so I just made a decision after working with a buddy of mine that came in out of Saskatoon. I actually went out to Saskatoon that time and worked with him for a week. He was a really enjoyable guy, and I'm still friends with him to this day. He's got his own company out in Saskatoon now. But he kind of simplified things for me, and he was kind of the first person to actually talk to me and explain things to me in a way that kind of made sense.
So were you looking for something at that point? Like, what was life like? And
I knew that I knew.
So your mom, sorry, I'm just gonna dial it back a little bit.
Sure.
Like your mom knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
Because you told her, or she
did,
knew,
yeah.
or
Yeah,
okay.
we sat down and had a conversation.
Okay.
What made you tell her?
You know what, I knew. When I say red flags about getting out of what I was doing, I knew that I was heard of by association by some officers of the law.
Yeah.
And you know what, it was just a matter of time.
It was a clock. The clock was
the
ticking.
clock was ticking, exactly. And I just needed to get the hell out of it before I couldn't anymore, you know.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because what I was doing, it was just not going to get me anywhere.
Now, was this like a big separation from kind of the way you were brought up and how, like, some people were brought up in that, right? And like,
no, you know what,
their parents did that, or their
not
whatever.
At all. You know what, I had absolutely wonderful parents. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say that our relationship was good growing up. Me and my dad, two bulls in the house.
Like your upbringing, it wouldn't have led you to take that path.
I don't know. It didn't necessarily, because I mean, at the end of the day, I do have a brother that's 2 years older than me. Went down a completely different path. I mean, just
What's he,
I don't
a doctor?
know. No,
Was
not
he
at
the
all.
officer?
Was he the cop that tipped you off?
My brother is a cop.
Your brother
and,
is a cop.
and he
In
actually,
Slovakia.
Yeah, he did bust me on a few things.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
All right. So you got off a little easier than you could have, maybe.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, for sure.
Not so bad.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what we call privilege.
Oh, geez, we're not having a conversation about that, are we?
No, I'm just kidding. But respectively, I did have privilege in a couple points in my life, and
Fair.
going into that job was one of them. But I established a good relationship with my mother later on into my teens. Me and my dad. It wasn't until I moved out that we actually started getting along a little bit.
Yeah.
He dated me out of the house. He said, "You know what? Like, just get the fuck out of my face."
Was it like a personality conflict, or was it
Huge.
Are you the same, or are you both very
two-
similar, and it was too many of the same thing?
If you looked at me at probably 25 years old, and you were one of my best friends, you'd be like, "Wow, you guys are identical." But to this day, I mean, my wife Melissa there, she'll say, you guys are the exact same. Like it never fails. Every time you sit in the same room together, you're just saying bullshit and just yapping together.
Now, is she the same as your mom?
No,
Because
no.
that's the theory. We all marry our moms.
Ooh.
No,
And
you know
they
what?
marry their dad.
She I don't know. She's a little bit of everything. The thing that I love about her is that she's unique from her own family, and then she's unique from my family. So she has so many attributes about her that are just, they're absolutely beautiful, because they're, I don't know, they're so much of her own thing that, I don't know, she just owns it so well. I don't know.
The show's not about her.
I don't. Yeah, I know.
What are we doing
I
here?
don't mean to get.
He knows she's
going
to listen to it.
But when you go through relationship after relationship, and
of course.
it's just like, I don't know, you're trying to find something specific.
So how is that like? Okay, well, let's jump to a different place. Like, how has that been? So you met her. You guys were, from what I understand, you guys were friends. And then it turned into something, or
you know what?
Have I been lied to for 6 months?
No. We were friends, actually. You know what? Let me backpedal even a little bit further, because, and I don't know if I'm going to end up taking this whole thing and rewind, or if I should just start way back at the beginning. But when it comes to me and her, anyway, somewhere, how the hell long was that ago? 5 years ago or something. I don't know, we just ran into each other as a matter of her being a friend of a girl that I was dating at the time. And me and her just sitting in my kitchen, my girlfriend at the time sitting in the backyard with her and a couple other girls or whatever. And me and Melissa are talking, and I'm prying at her mind, because she's just got this genius about her. And she's also got this like other attribute about her that reminds me of me when I was young. Just very ambitious, no idea what the hell you're going to do, and no opportunity. And I went, I want you to work for me one day. And I thought to myself, like, I was lucky enough to be given an opportunity. You deserve one. Because she just, and I've heard her stories about, working for her ex's company and trying to help him get it turned around when he was just shit in the bed and everything else like that. And she turns back to me and she says, "That's not the first time you ever said that to me." She said, "You said that to me when I was 18. I was like, "Are you kidding me? I don't even remember seeing you when you're 18. She, like, honest to God. And she was like, "No, I was serving at the bar there." And she says, "I served you your drinks and just the way I was talking to you. And you said I talked very professionally, and that, you know what, if you were ever self-employed, you'd love to hire me one day." And I think I was, prior to that, or that experience was 2 years prior to me becoming self-employed. But I had the expectation of being there.
So let's go back. So you were doing something you needed to get out of.
Yeah. So
you talked to you had a conversation with your mom. Like, what was that experience like for you? Not talking to your mom, but like, what was that? Doing something you knew, like, this could potentially not end well.
Well, it could have just not ended well for me, for one, but it could have not ended well for my family. I mean, I wish I had, the retrospect back then to see that, what I was doing to my family. I didn't understand anything as well as I should have, obviously, because I was a dumb kid. But, I was that kid that 13 years old, 12, 13, out drinking, doing stupid shit and, running away from home, going to raves, you name it, right? But, since I was really young, all kinds of issues with me. My kids took me to therapists, or my parents, took me to therapists and everything, and couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with me.
For what reason? Like, why?
I just...
What was the issue that they thought?
Like,
were you just defiant, or was it?
I was extremely defiant.
Okay.
I was just a lot of issues in school, and I'd get into fights, and and then me and the old man back home, we would always be going back and forth.
So in retrospect, given that you're older now and you've been through that process, not to say it doesn't still apply, but like, what was that?
Well,
what were you feel like? What do you, when you reflect on it, what was that for you?
Well, there's two terms of thinking for me on it. One is that, like I look at my old man, stand-up guy. Absolutely stand-up guy, but he did not really have much of a father. His dad drank 7 days a week, and he said to me at one point, he says, if you woke up early enough on a Sunday morning, he says, you'd see that guy sober, nicest guy you ever met in your life. But unless that was the case, he came home, or he left the butcher shop every day, went to the gay Cavalier, as they used to call it.
Oh fuck, out on Regent.
Just get absolutely loaded. And then he'd come home and just, if he felt like slapping somebody around, he would. And my dad, he had a mentally challenged brother at the time too, and his mother wasn't allowed to work because the old man says, I'm the only one that works, so I pay the bills, but then he'd spend all his money on booze and he couldn't pay the bills, so my dad was working. And for the last 20 plus years of my father's life, he didn't realize that his wife was working at the Legion the entire time because he was drinking so fucking much.
Wow.
So my dad didn't have a dad, and I never got to respect him for that until I got older, until I actually understood it. And so I was just, to be fair, I was a piece of shit as a kid.
Now, did that change? How did that, without him knowing that, because he didn't know it when he was raising you, like how did that affect, how do you think your relationship with your dad would have been different had that have been different? Like, have you thought about that?
Oh,
or do you just take it for what it is? And
I think about that every day because, I mean, that's the one thing that I'd love to correct if, we go forward with having kids, right?
Yeah.
Is the fact that he just, he didn't have the emotional stability. He had so much frustration and so much stress in his life, and he wasn't reaching the goals that he wanted to reach in his life at the time, and things kind of weren't going his way, and like it was just downright tough as shit, right?
And is that like a man's journey from that generation? Is that a good way to put that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I can relate to it so much because, like, my dad, like, he wasn't. Like he was very involved with his family as far as I know, but like he never, like, I knew my grandparents, they died very early, but I know I believe there was 9 siblings, 11 altogether, but 2 died at birth, and there was 9 siblings, and I know it was very strict because my grandma from my dad's side was the one with the whip. And like it was very structured, and like there was, and I've talked about the episode about like my upbringing, like my dad never really showed any. Like, he wasn't really a father figure other than he was the provider.
Yeah.
He brought the
Man,
Wow.
I've had a lot
Actually,
of
my mom
conversations.
worked too, but yeah, like he was the man. He had to fix the car. He had to do the fixing and the manly work, right?
Yeah. I've had so many conversations in the last like 5 or 6 days about this provider concept. I think, can we put that in the parking lot and maybe dig into that in a bit? Because I have this whole impression of it for myself, and I'd love to talk to you guys about that, but not right now. Let's move that on.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, you know what, he didn't understand how to be the best father that he could be, but he knew that he had to try to be a father.
Sure.
And so,
and he thought maybe that is the best thing that he can do, and that's it. Like,
well, you know what, he was hard as shit on me, and my brother, you know what, he was a little less hard on, but my brother was less of a prick than I was growing up.
You're still
but my dad,
for the record,
I appreciate it. But you know what, like, one thing I'll say is that, like, my dad, he didn't drink. Growing up, like he I mean, he'd occasionally have a beer or two here with his buddies and stuff like that, but like I don't think that guy got drunk for 20 years.
Well, he must have been turned off by it.
He was so turned off by it.
Yeah.
Like
given how he was brought up and what happened in his life.
And so like he, you know, he became a very critical person through the inability to relax.
Sometimes sobriety does that.
Yeah. But it also, that critical,
it's a double-edged sword.
like that criticalness, like passed on to me so much.
I didn't know about my dad that he was an alcoholic until later on, because when I was growing up, I remember it was like, oh, Dad doesn't drink. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That was the normal thing. Then I found out why he doesn't drink. It's because he was an alcoholic. He had to go to rehab. He went to rehab. Oh, okay. Yeah, and then he had to literally, like, my mom basically gave him an ultimatum, like, when she was pregnant with me, saying, like, hey, you either fuck off or you stop drinking, you know, so, but it's...
that happened with my grandpa.
Oh, really?
My mom's dad. I didn't know until I was like probably 30 years old.
Yeah.
But like they used to live in Kelowna, BC.
Okay.
And they came to visit.
That's why I hate it.
Well, I hate BC. Everybody knows that. Anyone who knows me knows I hate BC. But I guess he had come to visit, and at that time he was like a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I don't remember him as that. I don't. And I was young, and he died. That grandpa died before I was old enough to have a lot of memories. But like, there was a moment my mom told me about where she was like, "Hey, if you're gonna show up and expect to be around our kids and my kids and our family, like, if you're gonna drink, like, you're not welcome to be here. So don't ever come back." And like, I only found that out when I was like fucking 30.
Yeah.
Like, what a weird, like, and I think we all have that generation before us that behaved similar.
Yeah.
And the generation before them that like was very different. Like, we talk about Brendon, we talk about your dad and your grandpa. Like, this was the same for me. It was like my mom and my grandpa. Yeah. And like, my grandpa was clearly very sick. Or sorry, my great grandpa was clearly very sick. My grandpa was sick. And like, our parents have kind of pushed through some of that. You talk about your dad, like, he wouldn't rarely ever have a drink. Well, no shit.
Well, yeah, of course.
Given his experience.
I mean, and to add to all of that, I mean, my parents came to the decision that they were going to wait till he was either he drank himself to death or he was in the hospital and couldn't leave before they actually had their wedding, so that he wouldn't be there.
Oh, they just didn't.
That's how bad he was. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Did you know him? Do you have memories of him?
No, he was dead before I was born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my other grandfather, I was, I think, 1 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So I never really knew my grandfathers at all. And the other one, pretty much the opposite. Like, very solid, humble family man, very big community guy. Like, he has a park named after him, and like, you know, he did all kinds of things. He was like the, you know, city of Winnipeg Santa, like, proclaimed as that for several years and stuff. Like so like complete opposites. Yeah, complete opposites.
So you're
right?
a mix of the two very conflicting. Well, you're the devil and the angel on the shoulder. Didn't we talk about that yesterday recording?
Yeah.
You know what? And it's funny because there's the devil and the angel, and then there's, you know, all the attributes of different things that I took from my, you know, career and life experiences from both sides of my family that actually were so far on different spectrums that I got the ability to learn from both of them. And growing through that has been actually a really wonderful treat that I've had the privilege to have in my life.
So you had talked to me earlier before the show. I'm not just like bringing this up randomly. We talked about it before the show, but like, you wanted to talk a little bit about like you've had some experience with your mental health and depression and things like that. Like, we've kind of covered like what brought you up to, I guess, about 2 years before you went on your own for your business. Why don't we get into those 2 years and then going on your own to be an entrepreneur or solopreneur, as I'm calling it? Maybe that's a degrading. Is that a fucking condescending term?
It's not degrading to me. I'm solo.
I actually like that. I've never heard that term before. And
I
like it.
I learned it because of my wife, because like that's what she is.
And I like it because it makes sense. Like, you work for yourself. And,
it's just your own thing, and you make all your own decisions, and like it's the fucking best.
Don't get me wrong. My website says "we" in every context.
You're gonna say it doesn't matter. But like,
But you wouldn't believe that I could manage as many things as I could,
Well, yeah, you have multiple personalities, right?
You gotta be as many people as you can to deal with whatever you gotta deal with.
We're gonna take a quick break, and then
Yes.
I would like to get into the next phase of your life after that.
That works for me.
Awesome. Hey, Tommy, among all the episodes we've recorded, there's one common theme, and that's getting therapy. We've talked about it lots.
Many, many times.
You had a really tough time making that first phone call. I had a tough time making that first phone call. I didn't even know if the person I was going to see was the right person, but you got to just try. Thank goodness we have a sponsor that makes it way easier now. BetterHelp has an online platform that allows you to fill out a questionnaire. They connect you with a therapist, and you get to communicate with them however you want. So whether that's text messaging, that's emails, that's through their app, that's video chats, you get all those options, and it makes it way less scary to be connected with someone. And if you're not into the person you talk to, they'll sign you another one right away. I've gotten assigned mine already, and I can't wait to use it. Like, by the time you hear this, I will have had my first session, and I'm super pumped to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and it's very easy to sign up. It took us maybe 5 minutes to sign up, and you answer just simple questions, and next thing you know, you got a message that you will be paired up with a therapist, and within the same day, we got the therapist already, the name and a message from them, and we were able to communicate with them. So it's extremely easy. So please go to BetterHelp.com. Yeah, that's the thing. BetterHelp.com/Quiet Riot Show, and you get to also enjoy 10% off for your first month if you sign up using this link. So again, right here, I'm going to be doing it from here. Yeah, it's BetterHelp.
Am I screwing it up?
.com/Quiet Riot Show. Yeah, sign up today, and you're not going to regret it, because I'm already enjoying it. Just the fact that we connected with a therapist.
Me too, man.
Thank you to BetterHelp for supporting this podcast.
Okay, so I want to get into a little bit of, because this is a huge interest of mine, and I think, Tommy, we talked about this yesterday when we were recording, but the process of going from working for someone else to working for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a journey there, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit. So you said there was a 2-year period sort of between a significant career path and then deciding to go on your own. Yeah. So what was that for you?
Well, I mean, when I was younger, when I was much younger, I mean, like I said, I did a bunch of stupid shit when I was younger. Making money was the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to be self-employed one day. So it was always in the back of my mind. I worked for a company for...
was your dad ever self-employed?
He was for, pretty much almost his whole life.
Okay.
Put it that way.
So do you suspect that's probably where that desire stemmed from?
A little bit from my dad.
Okay.
I have 4 uncles on my mom's side. The one uncle was the one that owned the company that I worked for.
Okay.
It was the biggest automatic door company in Western Canada at the time. And then 2 other uncles, self-employed, and another one worked in banking. So I got the opportunity to see both sides of my family, what I, directly from my father, what he tried to do and what opportunities he missed out on. And I had that opportunity to learn that from both sides of the family nonetheless. And so I worked for this company for about almost 10 years. And basically after 8 years of being in that company, they went through an acquisition. My uncle sold it to basically a global conglomerate. Yeah. And you know what, they're the kind of company that at the time they were just going on a shopping spree. Yeah. By the time they approached them, I think they owned 103 companies. By the time they actually got the acquisition done, they owned 118.
I went through a very similar thing.
And it wasn't even that fast or that slow of an acquisition. Yeah. They were literally just buying companies, right? And so I knew exactly what they were doing and how they function. They just want their soldiers in line. And so it was okay, I know that I'm going to have an exit out of here eventually.
Yeah.
Me and the sales guy at the time, he became the part of the dream team, I called it.
Okay.
He, you know what? He was did everything the company wanted. I knew that eventually it was going to be me or him, and it ended up he came out on top, and he was their glamour child, and I had to get the hell out of there.
So who were you? How old were you at this point?
30 years old.
Okay.
Or sorry, 29.
Okay. And who were you at this point? What was your life? What was going on in your life? What was like these things? I'm going to call them risks. Like you were preparing yourself to take a risk. A calculated one, maybe nonetheless, but like you were preparing for a risk. And so like, who were you at that point to yourself? Like, who were you? How did you view yourself? How did you?
I definitely could have viewed myself a little bit better. You know what? I was in a relationship, a bad relationship. It was.
Did you know it was bad at the time?
Oh God, I didn't know it was bad from the start, but it went on for 3 years anyway.
Yeah.
Just
been there.
You know what? Don't date servers, right? But
or pharmacists, in case everyone's wondering.
You know, I'm not going to say don't date servers, but don't date servers that get off their shift and stay at the bar. You know, so so that becomes your whole life, right? And then wake up at 4 the next day and go back to work. But that's what I did, and I went through this relationship with this girl. Did love her, I will admit that.
Yeah.
But it was toxic as hell, and. You know what I spent? She hated working at the place that she worked at. She hated the owners. They tried to get with all the girls, and she wasn't one of those girls.
Yeah.
And so they tried ousting her, and she wasn't taking it. And she was just, wanted to stick around and figure out what she needed to do. But I kept telling her, at least get on days so that you're getting your life a little bit in order. And then, you know what, let's start working on some of your hobbies that you're talking about. And let's try and, focus on a better path forward, right? Yeah. And she just kept going down this path and she had huge anxiety too. So dealing with her anxiety on top of trying to get her focused on this, I'm just expelling everything that I have to try and help her. And I didn't realize that I was letting myself go through the process. So I was just like exhausted by the end of this relationship. And I didn't realize that I was like driving myself into a depressive state in my life where I quit talking to my friends. I quit focusing on, the things that I enjoy in life, the things that I enjoy, or, the enjoyment that I got out of work and stuff like that.
Separated yourself from
completely. Yeah. And I gave everything I could to just try to help her because that's what I thought was, for whatever reason,
your job.
Most important.
Well, and you thought it was your job, like it's your responsibility.
Well, it's kind of similar to your story that like, you in a relationship, both sides, you have to put in the effort, right? If it's only one-sided, well, that relationship's going to go to shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I look back and respectively, I wasn't prepared to deal with her anxiety properly. Yeah. I was still coming out of a point in my life where, like I spent every portion of my life prior to that basically stigmatizing the shit out of mental illness.
Okay.
And I've been through depression and everything else like that before that, but I just thought it's, it's shitty time, get through it, fucking
suck it up.
Exactly,
despite how bad it gets, like just
suck
whatever,
it up,
right?
The suck it up mentality.
And that was the moment, that relationship was the moment of my life that really freaking humbled me because it took me down to the lowest low that I had ever been at. And I got to the end of that relationship and just after New Year's, like that, she dumped me. And I go, are you fucking kidding me? Because I told her, I said, you know what, I'm thinking about walking out of this freaking life. I am so done and I am so exhausted and I don't have anything that I love anymore.
You've given it all up.
I lost passion in everything. Yeah. I absolutely lost passion in everything. And I don't know. I guess she, as they tend to say, women, when they, go into a breakup of a relationship, they broke up 6 months ago. And often is the case. I think that was the case with her. Yeah. She was done long before she actually said
in hindsight, I can
goodbye.
see some of that parallel with what I've been through for sure.
Yeah. But that was definitely the case with her, I could tell. And so, you know what, I sat there and wallowed in my my bullshit and grieved, and tried to think and, what am I going to do? And every day I just sit in the house. I didn't have any work for the last 3 months because I was just so slow.
Were you already on your own?
I was self-employed for about a year and a bit, year and a half or something, I think. And I didn't know what the hell to do, but I'm sitting at home doing no work, trying to come up with something, staring at the dog going, I can't leave you.
Yeah.
And I know that seems silly to some people that don't own animals, but if you do, you understand that 100%. That's...
Yeah, Tommy won't get it.
no, but
sorry, like Jacob. Think about Jacob doing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's my child,
Yeah. No, and I even though I'm not a dog owner, I believe a dog would really benefit me.
Well, it's a dependent. It's something that is dependent on you.
And even though there's that joke that like find out who's your best friend, lock your wife and the dog into the trunk, and when you open it up, see who's gonna be happy to see you. And it's true, right?
It's always the dog.
The dog's gonna be super pumped to see you, right?
Yeah.
And
wait, your wife's not in France right now, is she?
No, she's there. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a companion. That's what they say. Like,
well, and it's
dog.
It's your friend. It's a.
And will love you no matter what.
It's a sense of purpose. It's a sense of, especially from something that is forever dependent on you.
Yeah.
Like a child grows up and grows out of that. Like my daughter, she's 12, and she is not nearly as dependent on me as she was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and so like.
Even a year ago, probably.
Yeah, even fucking maybe yesterday. I don't know, but like, I get that.
Yeah, I mean,
and so it gives you purpose. And when you're feeling like shit, and when you're feeling down, and I'm just speaking for myself, I wouldn't speak for you, but like, when I'm feeling like shit, or I'm feeling down, or that shit has happened, like, that thing still needs you the same way that you've always treated it.
So it's
and the same amount of needs it's always had.
So it's a big part of your heart.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Because you know what? Yeah, I mean, love is love. I believe that. And whether, an animal can properly feel love or not is, completely irrelevant.
Right? They show affection.
We feel it.
Sure,
well, we feel it, and they do feel it. They do show affection, and so.
And I've had a lot of people in my life, and a lot of people I've loved that have come and gone, and we were talking about this earlier, Tim. 20 funerals before you're 20, like just
I've been to so many, dude.
It changes you a lot, but I will say this. My dog's 11 tomorrow. He's a big shepherd. He's 130 pounds, and so he's in the back end of his life. Yeah. When that dog goes,
he's in the home stretch.
It reminds me of the first time I saw my father cry. He didn't cry at his father's funeral, but he cried when their first cat died. Yeah. Because that was his boy. That was his companion.
Well, it's a different relationship.
Yeah.
Like when we talked about your dad and his dad, and like, that'd be a very conflicting, hard moment.
Yeah.
But like, but your fucking cat or your dog, like, oh, you've just been happy to see me every time I've been around. And like, that's a hard thing to deal with.
So, I mean, to get back on track, that dog kept me alive. Mm-hmm. That he I had two decisions. I had the decision to get my affairs in order and make a plan to get the hell out of here, or to get the hell back to work and figure something out.
Yep.
And I made the decision to get back to work because he had a lot of years ahead of him and he didn't deserve that. And you know what? Even if it was just me and him for the longest time, I couldn't give a shit.
So it got dark enough to a point where you actually like were thinking about.
I was selling shit, and I was.
You just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I knew this. I knew that I didn't want to leave a bunch of burden. Behind. So I didn't. I started selling shit, and I started trying to clear my life up a little bit, right? And I hadn't talked to lawyers or anything like that.
It's usually a bad sign.
Yeah. But I mean, I never knew if I would have the balls to pull the trigger when it came to it. But I just knew that I didn't want to leave a fucking mess behind.
Yeah.
And because I know my family deserves a lot better than that too. But I put myself in this position because of my choice in my life. And that's where I could either stay or I could move on from. And so I chose to move on. And I'm not going to lie to you. I made that choice consciously, and I embraced it as much as I could. The following week, I I knocked on some doors and stuff like that, and I got a call a few days later from a company that gave me just a shit pile of work and got me back to feeling better about, I'm working again and
Purpose.
Yeah, I got a little bit of purpose back in life, and I'm not going to lie to you. To this day, if I'm short on work, that's the thing that drives me the most nuts. Because I feel like I'm losing purpose, I'm losing momentum, But I started feeling good again. And I wasn't out of the woods, but I started feeling good again. And that ex-girlfriend calls me a few weeks later, and she says, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm a lot better." And she's like, "What the hell?" I'm like,
she didn't want to hear that.
and I'm hiding a little bit behind,
sure,
but at the same time, I was doing a little bit better. She's like, "Are you sure?" And in that moment, I realized that she totally accepted the fact that I said that to her, and she didn't give a shit. And she walked away from that and felt a little bit guilty about it, right? And I was like, well, whatever. I mean, that's up to you. I said, you know what? I had two choices, and you left me at this point, and so I'm going to move on from that point. And so this point in my life, thank you for, allowing me to figure my shit out.
Yeah.
But that was all I had to do, is just figure my shit out.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'll be humble enough to say that every part of my life, I definitely owe something to somebody everywhere down the line.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
But that was the one point in my life.
And
that,
even people,
thank you for putting me in that position. Maybe I needed it, but it was up to me to make
it's
that
medicine,
decision.
and
that felt like I actually could own that.
The good people who give us kindness and encouragement and support and love, I don't know if it's that much, it's the best ever, and I'm grateful for every person that's done that for me, but also the people who have given me the reminders and the lessons and the medicine that I needed with things that I wasn't doing well or wasn't looking out for myself for, or was destructive in my life. I'm almost as equally grateful for those people.
Yeah.
My shitty ex that we touched on, and I talked about on the first show we did, or the first show I did. I've made the joke a number of times, but I should send her a thank you letter, because if not for her doing the shitty things she did, I wouldn't have the life I have today.
Well,
And I'm grateful that I used, you, Brendon, I used that as an opportunity, and I was strong enough to turn that into something good for myself. A lot of people aren't, and if you're listening and you're feeling like you're not, hang in there, because you can, and there'll be a moment, and there'll be one decision you get to make that pulls you just a tiny bit further forward.
And that is the biggest.
And it doesn't have to be,
Hold on.
it doesn't have to change your entire life, but if it can change your 5 minutes, if it can change your 10 minutes, your hour, your day, your week, your month,
the little steps,
every one of those things is important. And if you can do one of them, you can probably do two. And if you can do two, you can probably do four.
Yeah.
And making those decisions
a lot of the time
is so key.
It is about finding momentum, but I mean, don't get me wrong, when that light is so small you can barely see it, it's really hard to hold on and believe
It is.
Believe that there's a tomorrow that's going to come.
It's
right?
weird. You actually have to decide to do those things when you don't actually believe there is anything
you have to
good.
Force yourself.
You'll never do those things when you think things can be good, because if you did, you would just be doing them already.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest thing for me, when it's shit, it's shit, and it's all shit. And why am I even deciding to do this thing that might be good? Everything's shit.
Yeah.
But you do it, and it's oh fuck, 99% shit.
Yeah.
But 1% isn't shit. I just figured that out.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest time to make that decision, but also the most significant.
You know what? Following that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that those times though, what helped me, and I think a lot of people found a way to you find that one person that you're comfortable with in life, and I think just kind of telling one person at least to know what you're going through, because even that one person might give you that little nudge that you need, right? But sometimes we're just alone. So your person was your dog. Yeah. That was the dog that gave you that nudge that, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
There's other ways to do it.
Was there anyone else that you were talking about this with at that point?
You know what?
Friends, family.
I really lost
anybody.
I spent time with friends a little bit here and there. I lost a lot because I was at that point where I was probably just awful to be around. And I kind of got that, you know, and like I even went through a point, it might have even been a year later or something like that, where I was still going through a lot of shit, but like I said, oh, you know what, I'm gonna give it a month and see, you know, I'm not gonna call any of my friends, see who calls me, right?
Yeah.
Month.
Also, for the record, that's
Don't
the worst
ever do
experiment
that by them.
you can
No.
ever
Don't ever do
do.
that. Yeah.
It's not a good experiment.
Relationships are
and the
about
results are not
making-
valuable.
Yeah, no,
they do not represent
No.
reality.
But like literally 3 months went by, and I'm like, what the fuck? And also, it's hockey season,
That's
and
an
I
awful
didn't really
experiment.
watch a lot of hockey with my buddies, but they're all in their fantasy leagues
Yeah.
and this and that and whatever, right?
And so you're a part of whatever.
Yeah,
and
but I, you know, I more or less hang out with my buddies in summer and stuff like that, more, and whatever. It was what it was, but that was a horrible idea. That didn't.
It's a
that
bad
didn't,
experiment.
That didn't take me down
I think
a better
it fails.
path. You know?
I think it fails no matter what.
Oh, yeah,
happens. Like that is just
definitely, yeah.
not.
Even if you're not going through anything and you actually like tell yourself, oh, I'm not going to call anybody for 3 months.
Like,
no one's going to call you.
Yeah.
Don't put pressure on people they are unaware of. There's pressure on.
You know what? You know what? If there's one thing I believe in, I'm not very religious or anything. If there's one thing I believe in, it's energy. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, respectively, when you make that kind of decision
like,
to do that
you've
kind
already-
of, you've already put out the wrong energy.
You've already decided. Like you've already kind of.
I didn't decide that I just.
You've already
that I
kind of
believe in energy
manifested
until
the
after
outcome
that,
of
but I
that.
definitely look back and I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
I'm not going to call everyone for 3 months, and I'm going to see who phone. That sounds like something a girl would do.
Right? But you know
No,
what?
not to insult anybody,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
But-
it sounds like something like
But to be fair,
a girlfriend would do.
Yeah.
Like, well, they didn't call me, so I'm not calling them. We'll see when they call me. It's like that's an awful experiment. If you love
Yeah.
someone, like maybe just phone them. But
But you know what? I was so alone and so just like not talking
Sure.
to anybody that I, you know what? I
I don't mean to laugh. It's
Well,
just
and it made
I-
sense at the time, probably, right?
But that was just a thing, right? Like I was in this point in my life where like I spent so much time alone that, man, you do not spend more time self-reflecting than when you're depressed and talk to nobody.
correct.
You know, and so like you almost get to a point of self-reflection where you're like almost elusive in your reflection because you're like just talking shit to yourself sometimes and like none of this shit makes sense. You're overthinking things constantly and so you're starting to make your life worse in some ways and
Well,
maybe
spirals.
yeah, I mean like and so you know if there's anybody that I can give advice to on this, if you find yourself in that position, just get out of your head and go do something.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing. If there's one point in my life where I dealt with the least amount of depression, it was when I went to the gym. You know, like on
We
a
talked
regular
about this
basis.
yesterday.
Yeah.
It's actually phenomenal.
You
Our
know.
and you haven't even heard that show because it's not out yet.
Fair enough.
We had a huge conversation about this with our guest yesterday.
Yeah, he was talking about just like a quick
Changing your physiology, changing your physical.
yeah, like
It's all
if
tied
you're, if
together.
you're sitting in one room, just go to the other room for 90 seconds and like move around, just move around, like do
Yeah.
something different. Yeah,
Just
Yep.
do something different. The whole lesson, I think the whole message, or the big message I received from him, which is probably because it's the message I need to receive
yeah,
and whatever, but like, I think the whole thing is like, if something's not working or doesn't feel good, well, the only way out of that is to try something different.
Literally. Yeah.
But again,
That is the only way to do it.
But when
true,
you're
though.
when you're really depressed, like
It's the hardest thing in the
yeah,
fucking
and like
world
I
to do.
didn't
yeah.
know when I went through depression. I never knew I was depressed until my wife pointed it out multiple times. Like, you're probably depressed. The first time she said, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you talking about? I don't get depressed. If I was depressed, I would just change things, you know. And then
Yeah. I just suck it up.
yeah.
I fucking move on.
No, I
Like-
didn't see that picture,
Yeah.
right? So it's easy to say just go to and do something different.
And it was
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
It was the weirdest thing at that point in my life. The one person that said that to me was my father. He said, you know what, man, been depressed my whole goddamn life. He says, I don't know what the hell to do about it. He says, I feel like I'm just heading towards whatever dead end I get to every day.
Yeah.
He says, but I'm here because you guys are here. And I was like, shit.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, and that's like
You know,
such
and-
that's such an alignment with how you felt about the dog.
Yeah. And you know, I that kind of helped me appreciate things a little bit more and appreciate my position a little bit more. He was the first person I felt like I could relate with. And then a moment kind of came into my life where a girlfriend of mine, a good friend from, you know, long time back that I used to work with when we were 18 or whatever, put eating, wrapping ribs together at Maple Leaf. We hated each other when we first started working together, and then we became great friends years later. And she, kind of woman that just looked for love everywhere. Moved to Australia to look for love, moved to Roblin to look for love, lived with a farmer for 3 years. But she spent a lot of her life depressed and on antidepressants. That just never worked for her. She never found what worked for her, I guess. But she moved into a place that didn't work for her. She broke her ankle. She had to climb stairs every day with a 130-pound dog. I said, you know what? I got a little bit of room in my heart and a little bit of room in my house. Come on over until you get your shit together. That was where I learned two very specific things. I learned that it was good for me to open my heart to somebody, but I also learned what it's like to look at chronic depression. And I realized that never in my life have I had chronic depression.
Well, it sure
that
is
is
fucking
very
different
significantly
than being sad.
different. But no, like chronic depression where I've had depression where I can't get out of bed.
You've had bouts of depression.
Yeah. And you spend a few days like that.
I think we all have.
She
in this room, I think we can all safely say we've had bouts of depression.
But for the year that she lived with me, every day she couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I've never understood how significant that was until that came to be. And you know what? It wasn't there. I could sit there and try and cheer her up, but it wasn't a matter of cheering her up. It was a matter of just trying to help her out as much as I could, here and there in whatever capacity that I could. But she eventually did find some medication that worked for her.
And some people need that.
But she's 2 years older than me. It took her until she was, I think, 35 to find that medication. 15 years of taking medication, basically, to find what actually worked for her, to be like, okay, I'm gonna go back to school now and get my shit together and I can finally function. And I was like, okay, I appreciate the fact that I didn't have to go through that process.
Well, it helps you check yourself a little bit when you see.
It did. Very much.
This is gonna sound weird, but when you see someone who's worse off than you are, it really puts your picture in perspective, and it doesn't change how much empathy and sadness I feel for the people that struggle worse. But man, is it a fucking reminder?
Oh, it is big time.
Oh, I was going through depression. I was sad about a lot of things. I wasn't depressed.
Yeah.
I have a...
Well, we kind of had this conversation before.
We've had this conversation before.
The feeling of
we
being
talked about
depressed
anxiety
versus
and
actual depression.
Yeah, and feeling depressed and having depression are two different things. Feeling anxious and having anxiety are also two different things.
Yeah.
And I think those lines have gotten a little too blurry because...
And we talked about kind of get that clarification, actually, if there is a difference between those two. Yeah.
Because there is a difference.
Yeah.
There's a huge... I've lived with someone who is chronically... And probably for I hope not, but likely for the rest of their life will be depressed.
And so maybe...
And I am not that.
Maybe that's...
I get depressed. I get sad. I go through periods of depression that are real, and they're real to me for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not that.
Maybe that's when I say chronic depression, if you don't find the right medication, essentially what I mean is terminal depression, right?
Yeah, no, it's that's
right.
Yeah, we're talking about the same thing.
And so it's I've dealt with what I've dealt with throughout the velocity of my life, but if she never found that would be the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Right. And it's okay, you do have to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and it's tragic.
Yeah.
It's awful to think that someone has to live that way.
Yeah.
And they do. And they live like that every day. I lived like that for a period, and I got to live like that for a period. Some people live like that forever.
I know. Coming out of that that particular experience with that roommate, she ended up moving out. She was able to kind of find a better situation for herself and feeling better and everything else like that. But, I spent 3 years in that bad relationship. I spent 3 years kind of alone. I wasn't with anybody or anything like that. I don't know if it was a subconscious thing, but I just I felt like I didn't deserve to be with anybody at that point. Maybe maybe I blame myself for a lot of the shit where I was bad throughout all the points in my life and everything else like that. But I didn't feel like I deserved much, but I knew that I had to kind of get somewhere with my life. So I just focused on work. And then along came this woman who I thought was going to be the thing that turned everything around. She was definitely the right step. Went to the pissin' hole that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
She was a bartender, and it was just one night that she was sitting on the opposite side of the bar, and I'd never seen her on that side of the bar. And I said, "What's going on?" We've never had a conversation prior to this, other than, "Hey, can I grab whatever I'm drinking that night?"
Miller Lite and a shot of whiskey.
Well, I didn't drink that back then. I was a little less sophisticated, but if you call that sophisticated.
Okay, sorry.
But, no kidding.
A Truly or whatever.
Yeah. Can I get a seltzer? But, when I sat beside her, and for the first time I actually had a conversation, and she was going through a lot of shit, and she was living at her boyfriend's house at the time. They broke up. He was kicking her out, but they broke up over the phone or over text or something like that.
God.
He was working the railroad. He was out of town still, and he was coming back the next day. Your shit better be out of the house by the time I get home, is what he said.
Fuck, really?
So,
Wow.
so I'm like, okay, that's just fucked.
True gentleman.
And
Right? What a great man.
And she ain't got a whole lot
What
of
a good provider.
Yeah.
She right. She doesn't got a whole lot of options, so our pissing hole has a hotel attached to it, and she chose to live in the hotel for the next month, basically.
Oh, okay.
So and knowing the owners, working for the owners, reasonable deal. Not ideal circumstances by any means, but you make it work. And so we kind of got to know each other over the next little bit, and I said, you know what, listen, I don't do this very often. As it turns out, I do, I guess. But
Hey, no, you do this all the time.
but I said,
You just 5 minutes ago,
Right.
open my heart, open my home thing. You're about to do the same thing, I'm assuming?
literally though.
Okay.
But I felt like, you know what, fucking, she was in a shit position, and like, who the fuck am I to say, just help somebody out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm helping you get on your fucking
Well, and it's
toes.
a man's job to protect women.
But
And maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but like
I
that's
believe
our
that,
that
yeah.
is like
But I had
the
nothing-
only person who can protect women is men.
But I had nothing else
From men, for sure.
Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing else
Sorry,
to
that- I
fucking
should
live
specify
for.
that,
Nothing
but-
else to live for. I got a 1,250 square foot fucking bungalow that I'm living in with me and my dog.
Is this the house you're in now
Yeah.
still?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've lived in the house for 16 years.
Okay.
17 years or something.
I've still never seen it.
Well, come on, why?
Nah, I'm
But
not gonna.
she, so, we make this agreement, and okay, yeah, you're going to move in next week or whatever, blah, blah, blah. We have a few drinks at the bar. She starts kissing me. I'm like, oh my God, this is not exactly what I expected, but whatever. We do that. And her best friend at the time, who's obviously trying to get with her, that just goes awry. And she is in trouble with him and blah, blah, blah. Move on down the line. She moves in. We start dating. It was stupid.
Okay.
Inside of the next 3 months, she introduces me to this angel banshee. That's what I call my wife today.
Oh, this isn't even. This isn't even.
Okay.
This isn't even her we're talking about.
That is correct.
Oh, I thought we were talking about her already.
This was a stepping stone.
Okay. I know the angel banshee, by the way.
And what a horrible thing to call a person, but as I actually got to know
I've
her,
called her worse.
I came to
This week, I've called her worse for sure.
As I came to get to know her a little bit more, it's not that bad, to be honest with you.
She's a lovely
Like, I've
lady.
met you guys only once before this, and she's awesome. Like, I just love how outgoing she is. Like,
Yeah, she's okay, I guess.
she's great.
She, you know what? Am I wrong when I say an angel banshee?
No,
You
that
know?
is,
that's a
no.
great description of her. Yeah.
Perfect description.
She's a bit of a wildcat, that one, but you know what? God, how the hell could I not love her? So,
Okay, so you met her through this other person.
through this other person, sitting in my kitchen one day, and me and this girl, we'll call her C. She's out on deck with a couple of other girls there or whatever, having a couple drinks on a Saturday afternoon.
I see. Yeah, now we went back. Yeah. You mentioned this.
Yeah, and me and Melitza, my wife now, we're just hanging out in the kitchen talking, and it kind of came to my attention at the time that, you know, like, she was just lost. She didn't know what the hell she wanted to do. She's also, you know, 11 years younger than me, and, you know, so I'm not taking too much to heart at the time, but or at least I'm trying not to. But the more we talk, the more we get to know each other, the more I'm realizing that there's a part of this woman that's a lot like me when I was younger. And you know what, she missed opportunities that could have, you know, like, she never had the opportunities given to her when she was younger. She, you know, she tried to help out every way that she could in all of her friends and her exes the pizza oven there and everything else like that.
Sounds like your patterns.
My patterns?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do things sometimes, but
it's not an insult. It just.
But yeah. But she you know, she helped out her ex-boyfriend there and did everything that she could for her friends and stuff like that, and then she, you know, just never came out on top, and reminded me of myself a little bit. But she needed love. She had shit parents, she had a shit situation, shit friends, and I'm looking at her going like, you need an opportunity. And I was privileged enough to be given an opportunity when I was around her age, or a little bit younger. But I said, you know what, like, come work for me one day. And, like, you know, I don't necessarily have the perfect situation for you, but come work for me. This is what my industry looks like. Would you be interested? And she said, absolutely interested, because, you know, like, she's the same person as I am, you know, a couple credits short from high school, threw all her eggs in one basket by not graduating, didn't go to college for anything, no degrees, no nothing. And you know what, that's the truth. You throw all your eggs in one basket when you decide, fuck it, I'm not graduating, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But then, you know, she could have, I guess, but I said, you know what, if you want to go in the same boat as me, then, and you want to be what you want to be, and you want to embrace who the hell you are, and you want to be tough, then you can. And so we went through that together over the next, 9 months. But through that process, she became my best friend. She taught me that, you know, this woman that I was with at the time was horrible to me, and you know, like, just definitely wasn't deserving of me or anything like that. And it wasn't until, you know, I look back in retrospect through this entire thing that I realized that, you know, what I needed to get out of that entire situation was to give love. And maybe I missed that through my 20s. Maybe I didn't have enough ability to give love. Maybe I was trying to receive love more. Maybe I was just too focused on myself. I'm not sure.
Maybe you thought you were giving love, but meanwhile, it was something else, right?
But you know, like, going through my 20s, thinking about, you know, myself and oh yeah, I'm depressed and blah blah blah. It was stigmatic, right?
No, but those are real things, and it was. I don't think you should discount that.
No, I know,
because I think that also, like, that experience shapes who you are and how you behave in the future.
But I mean, going through that whole process, I mean, it really made me realize that, okay, depression is real, mental illness is real, and, you know, like, Melitza deals with anxiety, or she dealt significantly with anxiety at that time, and we're best friends for a year and a half. I watched her date this guy that just put her through the gutter, and, you know, she got in a bad position in her life with her parents, couldn't live with either of them, and I said, you know what, just move in, I guess. You know, that's my move.
That's his move. That's what he does.
You know,
fucking move in. How big is your fucking house?
You know what? If my wife kicks me out, I know where to go.
Yeah, right. You can maybe come to my house, and failing that, for sure, Brendon's house.
Yeah.
Also, it's 5 minutes from my house, so you'll be fine.
I'll just live it.
Not the entire house.
Okay, so I got a question.
So I can't do that.
What is that for you?
What is what?
So you're talking about giving love. I'm here to give love. I need to give love. At what point does that feed you and sustain you and provide you the love you need?
I think.
Where is that in all of that? Because it has to be there. You wouldn't be here today if it wasn't.
You know what? Like, I don't think I necessarily learned as much from my old friend, her moving in, as I could have, but it was a part of the process of getting there. Moving forward, actually just giving, helping, loving, doing everything that you can to just not like take, you know what I mean? Because at that point I didn't want anything. I didn't have much to care for. I was just working every day, and that's all I had to give a shit about. And towards that point in my life, like when I started dating that girl, it was the first time I started seeing somebody in 3 years. So I was actually a little bit up for the first time in a long time, and so I started looking at my business like, okay, let's do something here, like let's kind of work on actually building.
You
and
got energy out of it.
Yeah. I got the right. It helped me create a little bit of momentum, and then I found Milica, and it just it evolutionized like how I wanted to really rocket towards an actual, like I started giving a shit about the future all of a sudden again, and whereas I only thought about the present prior to that.
So loving somebody with purpose for you,
it helped me
is actually as good for them potentially as it is for you yourself.
Somebody that actually required it, like that never had it, and you know what, it helped me pull myself out of where I was, despite the fact that wasn't the intention.
Is it purpose? Is it again?
Well, there's that feeling of like
it definitely created.
It gives
purpose.
you purpose.
Yeah, there's that feeling of you're actually helping. Like it's like when you help out like a homeless person, it makes you feel better, right? Like if you can give somebody
as long as you don't sit there and video.
So when I met, right, that's the fucking ridiculous.
But it's just that feeling of actually knowing that you've helped that person, and then that exchange becomes mutual. Right?
I've never felt the reward of doing the same thing I'd always done, which is being kind and generous and caring and loving somebody. I have never felt the receipt of energy from that as I did when I met my wife and my daughter. Doing something for them selflessly makes me so much stronger. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, there is something about expending energy and love and care for them that makes me so much stronger. It makes me a better man. It makes me a better person. It makes me better in my interactions throughout that day or throughout that week or whatever it is with people. Like, it gives me something to push through harder scenarios and moments in my life.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest thing to feel when you're expending energy and feeling stronger because of it.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like that's kind of what you're talking about. Sorry, that's a long,
you're
drawn-out way of saying it, but
you couldn't be more right.
I think that's what you're trying to say is like you found that thing for you, and that may be different for everybody.
For me, I'm not going to lie to you, it didn't feel like I was expelling energy.
Well, that's the beauty of it.
Until a certain point where, like, it was she was dating this piece of shit guy, and you know what, I'm her best friend at the time, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like, there was not really much there. I was trying to help her out, and with a job position, and I believed in her. I really did believe in her, and so we became friends through this. And it was going through this friendship, and the painful bullshit of trying to get her through this relationship and trying to help her understand her worth in this relationship. That made me kind of just slowly fall in love with her. And it was...
She's lovable. I've met her.
No, I know, but she wasn't always, man. You know what? When I say she was an angel banshee, you know what?
Oh, I'm saying she's barely lovable, but she's on the spectrum.
She was just a banshee sometimes, so...
But it's that friendship that... Because you've known her as a friend, right? And
I will admit that's what makes us absolutely fucking spectacular together.
It helps you, like, I mean, let's say arranged marriages, right? Like, man, I would never marry somebody that I never met or I never slept with. Like,
I like the arranged marriage thing.
Yeah,
it's a sidetrack to this conversation, but
just for the
record, I'm on board with it.
I mean, it can work out.
I think it's good.
But when you have that friendship, you like the person for who they are, because when you're friends, you're not trying to act like yourself. When you go on a date, like, I mean, I was really drunk on my first date with my wife, and high, but the idea of if she was to leave me right now and I had to go date, I'm like, holy fuck, I don't know what I would do.
Please don't ever end up saying
that sounds like awful.
But like, when you're friends with somebody, you know that person who they are.
You already get to know them. Yeah.
You know what?
I could marry you easily.
Oh, we'd kill it.
Oh, fuck
Can you imagine?
I mean, we'd be drunk.
That's
all
not
the
a
time.
bad. That's not a bad idea.
Like I'm not gonna lie to you.
You want to get in on this?
Please, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you when I say this. Like when I met that woman, our humor just collaborated so perfectly. Like it was so in sync.
That's
right?
true.
And it's the thing that's hilarious to me about this is that me and my brother, we never really got along. Like, it's not that we didn't get along. We just never became friends. We never were real brotherly. We never found a relationship outside of like our very young childhood.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of stupid shit, as you are as kids. We had our jokes and stuff like that.
I'm not close with my brothers. I'm
the other way around.
And I always kind of wanted to be.
And I love them, but like we're not tight.
But now that me and Melissa are together, like we go to family gatherings at my folks' house, and me, her, and my brother, we share those stupid fucking jokes that we had when we were kids. And so it's like actually weirdly bringing me and my brother together. And I am loving it. I am absolutely loving it.
It's improving your life.
Because it's starting to bring, like, it very, very slowly, but it's starting to bring a relationship between me and my brother together.
Yeah.
And I know there's nothing that my parents would want more, but I mean, we're getting to a point where my brother turns 40 this year. I turn 38, and like, come on, like we gotta pull this shit together, bro.
Yeah, well, and also like your wife and your brother getting along, that's huge.
That is huge,
right?
honestly, because like nobody ever really gave a shit.
Yeah,
and she actually she's like, I fucking love your brother.
Yeah, she is.
Like he's hilarious, and she
she loves hard.
Yeah,
when she loves hard. And when
she
hates hard. So like
that's
the beauty of it.
That's the most admittedly true thing I've ever heard.
And it's great.
that's the banshee.
That's the banshee.
That's the banshee part. Okay, so how are we gonna wrap this up? Where are you at today? What's your life like? What's your business like?
Did we actually mention what your business is? What you actually do? I don't think we mentioned it.
He talked about it off and on.
I might have said very briefly that I do automatic doors, but
doors.
Yeah, well, pedestrian doors, anything but overhead doors is what my buddies will tell you.
There you go.
Because apparently I went on a rant about it one night.
Don't call them for your garage door.
No, never.
What if I want an automatic garage door? Then you're in, right?
If it's just a sliding door, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
So you've had a journey clearly, and you're still on a journey, and your journey's been interesting up until this point. How do you feel? What's in your sights?
Well, I'll say where I am right now,
and we'll have you back on in a year, and so
and see how bad everything's dwindled down.
Yeah,
I lost my wife.
So we're gonna have you back in a year when everything's shit.
I lost my banshee.
My banshee ran away. I got 2 other people living in my house.
I'm a nomad now. No, you know what? It's weird what you say something as obscure as, I've dealt with depression the majority of my life. You know, whether it's high heights of it or the absolute lows, and to say something as obscure as we're out of the woods. Yeah. I feel like for me, it's always just there. Mm-hmm. I feel like my entire life I've been almost kind of prone to depression. Mm. It's a matter of maintaining good, habits, good, just positive reinforcements in your life, and just for the most part, just being a good person. Because that's my biggest lesson from my entire life is that, just be a good man.
Yeah.
Be solid. Be there for people.
Yeah.
Be somebody that matters to people, and
it's good foundational stuff.
But you'll create a good energy about your life, and it'll keep a good energy for your life. So, I look at that sentence and I think, okay, maybe it's a little obscure, but you know what? I got the best woman by my side that, some of my circumstances that came from my lowest lows going to my highest highs allowed me to develop.
Yeah.
And Don't get me wrong. I'd be horribly off if for any reason me and that woman left each other. But I think I actually see like the light of life that I can actually work myself through no matter what.
You with anybody else?
No, but that's just a thing. That is the absolute truth. Like I probably wouldn't go out and try and find somebody else because I found the person.
Yeah, no.
You
Me
know,
and my wife are the same.
I
If
found
I'm not
my
with her,
person.
I'm not with anybody.
Do you know how it took me fucking 34 years? 30,
took me 36 years.
Yeah, come on, man. I don't have another. I'm not doing that again. Give me a break.
No, I get it.
And like literally,
But that's it.
I'm literally talking about like the first 5 years of my life that's what it feels like trying to go through that again.
I think that's such an encouraging message, though, and like I think that I think the three of us in this room and a lot of people who listen to this, depression it's a roommate.
Yeah.
It is.
We all have depression as a roommate, and
But
sometimes
don't allow it to be
put,
your best roommate.
But sometimes that roommate's around, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes, but it's a roommate, and it lives with us, and it lives with us.
It could be annoying. We just need to learn how to put up with that annoying roommate.
Yeah,
right?
and like that's
when he starts yelling, close the door and tell him feed yourself.
Yeah, and so like I think
Don't feed 'em.
I think we all live with that, and like I think that's what, in a way, that's what binds us together, bonds us to each other, and like I think in another way it's comforting as a man to know and talk to other men who live with depression as a roommate, and like also like Brendon, you and I have such in a lot of ways a similar story, and you know I hear you talking, and like again I say this every fucking episode, and maybe people get sick of it, but like I get something out of every fucking show that we do, and like I really mean it when I say like there's so many parallels between you and I think that's why we've become friends over a pretty short period of time, and like I feel so positive about our relationship, and like.
And it's odd that like we're just learning that so many more things.
Right, like you coming to do this show has taught me so many more things that were similar.
We agreed on this long before like a handful of different conversations that we realized we had similarities in our early life, especially too. That you know we went through a lot of the same things that built the kind of character that we had to.
And I think that like we do this show, but like we don't do the show because we're fit to do the show. We do the show because we want to.
Yeah.
Well,
and like,
you know,
everybody's fit to do the show. Everybody and anybody, any man ever is fit to do the show. And
well, and you know what? I think a beautiful thing about this show is that, you know what? You got three men here, three grown-ass men that are together.
I still act like a 12-year-old, but
of course.
Maybe both of you do too. So,
but you know what? The beauty of being able to act like a 12-year-old in front of your buddies is significant. You know? Whereas, you know, like in my younger years, I was a tough son of a bitch, and you know what? You live by the stigmatic. As you get into your older age, I think it's so significant for men to try and understand how to do this when you're younger, especially. Yeah. As I've gotten older, I've met guys like you, and I've found guys that, you know what? I went from shaking buddies' hands to just give me a fucking hug, man. You know, and you find buddies that are like that, you know, and make your buddies understand that a little bit more, you know,
100%.
because it's good to just say, fuck it, I love you, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
Well, and I think we're moving through that as a species or a group.
We have to.
Perhaps.
We are moving through that slowly but surely, and like. We're doing a whole lot better than our parents did.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Like, I would hope that our kids do a whole lot better than we did.
I think we're more open than our parents were.
Oh, for sure we are, yeah.
Which I
think significant, actually.
I love that, and I think we need to encourage each other to continue to do that and just speak up. So
on those terms, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you sharing your story and your smoky whiskey.
Oh, yeah, thank you for that. Do you drink coffee?
Occasionally.
So we have these mugs for our guests.
Yeah, you get
That's
one.
a beauty.
Yeah, you get one. I mean, if you don't drink coffee, whiskey
No.
just as
you
good.
You can put anything in a mug. It's all the same.
I do. Unless I drink too much whiskey the night before. Then I just
I have
crank the waters in the
stories
morning.
and seen pictures. But
that's our little token of
again,
I appreciate it.
Again, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us. I think like we're all just the everyman, all of us, and like we all have the same struggles and the same stories, and like we all live in the same world, and so I think it's inspiring to have you on talking about your experience, and I really appreciate that you're willing to share that with us. That means the world to us, and it's going to mean the world to someone else listening to this, and that's why we do this. So,
well, thank you so much for
thanks,
having
buddy,
me, guys. Yeah.
And cheers.
Yeah, and for the listeners, just follow us on.
Oh yeah, he's got to do his thing.
Yeah, I got to do my thing, right? All the listeners, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed Brendon. I think this was one of those episodes again that I didn't say much because I was so into like your story, and you're a great storyteller too. So thank you very much for sharing all that. Follow us on Instagram at Quiet Riot Show. Send us an email on what's the email? You know it.
QuietRiotShow@gmail.com.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Come on,
but you know what?
It's not my job. Why am I doing your job?
Because I have some news.
What's your? Oh fuck!
I know.
More surprise fucking
surprise
news
for you. Yeah.
Why does everyone surprise news me with things that I'm a part of?
Because you hate surprises so much. We're actually on Facebook now as well. So.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Follow us on Facebook as well, and
or don't
try to grow it. Yeah, we gotta get the numbers. I
got nothing to do.
Gotta
with
get
this.
these messages out there. So, thank you again. All Quiet Riot Show episodes have been recorded and produced by SuverMedia. If you think you have an idea for a podcast but don't have the space or proper equipment, please visit SuverMedia.com for more information. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please hit the follow button and leave us a review if the platform you are listening on allows you to do so. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Quiet Riot Show, and follow us on the Instagram page at Quiet Riot Show. Please share this episode with others that may be interested in these topics. If you know anyone that would enjoy these topics, feel free to share our podcast with them. Also, let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch with us in the comments on our channel and social media, or send us an email to quietriotshow@gmail.com.